Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio NBA Closing Time Show, Monday, January 18th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack with you. Ski Prophet will be along momentarily as well. Happy Martin Luther King Day, and MLK Day means daytime NBA basketball. It's pretty cool, actually, to have games going on as we're doing this show during the weekday afternoon hours. I sometimes makes me feel like I wish it was like this more often, but good to have daytime NBA. We've already got a few games underway, and we've got several more still to go tonight. So we'll take you through the rest of the NBA card on this Martin Luther King holiday. Let's get to it. The next game to tip off on the slate, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. This is the first of a triple header taking place on TNT today on Martin Luther King Day. It's the Phoenix Suns returning to action after a 1-week COVID-19 pause. They'll be taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Phoenix 5.5 point road favorites in this game, 217.5 the total. Phoenix certainly a week off. You wonder if they'll be sharp, if they will be on their best performance, I guess you could say, after a week off. And they've had a week to think about getting drilled in an ugly loss from the Washington Wizards in their last game before the shutdown for the Suns. They lost that game 128-107. A surprising loss considering this team had played pretty good basketball this season. They've certainly taken well to Chris Paul joining the team. He's been an excellent leader, and his play on the floor has been good as well. Of course, Devin Booker, outstanding. DeAndre Ayton. And Mikal Bridges is a guy that's really taken his game to another level this year as well for this Phoenix team, giving them a really good influx of scoring. His scoring's gone up. His rebounding numbers have gone up. So he's really done. Not only the offensive game has improved, but he's doing the little things as well to help this Phoenix team. Memphis, on the other end, will give the Grizzlies some credit here. 4 straight wins, 4 straight point spread covers for them, beating Brooklyn, Cleveland, Minnesota, Philadelphia, albeit shorthanded Philadelphia in the last game. So the Grizzlies taking care of business. There was some initial concern about the status of this game because the Grizzlies did have a little bit of a situation developing in terms of their team. With Jonas Valanciunas in particular. They've also still, of course, got Jaren Jackson out indefinitely, Justice Winslow as well. So this is still a team with that's found ways to win in spite of some key absences. But, you know, I'm a little worried about what kind of performance we're going to get from Phoenix. You know, they've been off the practice court. They haven't played a game now in a week, but I do think they're going to come out pretty well. I like the fact they're coming off a pretty abysmal performance against Washington, which actually looks more like an outlier, an anomaly, considering they played pretty well outside of that game this year. So I actually did take Phoenix. I laid the 5 with them in this game, and I also lean over the total. I understand the under money, but the total's come down a little bit now to the point where I think there's value to go over this number, 218.5. It's tough on Martin Luther King Day sometimes to go over in these, especially in these afternoon games, but I think the total now is just, I understand initially like an under, but I think the move's just gone too far down. Talking now 218.5 with these two teams, especially with the Suns' capabilities to score points. I would expect them to do that today. So I like the Suns. I like over the total as well against the Grizzlies. Conor, what's your take on this game?
Yeah, this should be a good one. I've been, surprised. Morant's back. I think he's looked good. He looks healthy since he's been back. I'm still big on the Suns. I think they're a really good team that are just on the fringe. It's going to take more time, I think, to become an elite team, the Suns. And this is where I got into trouble with them a little bit last week. And, in the last week to 10 days before they had the little pause, I think I reached a little bit. I mean, 5's not quite reaching, but I think with Memphis playing well right now, and I want to take the points. So I'm on the other side. I'm going to take the 5 with Memphis. I think they're home. They're playing good ball. So I'd rather be taking points than laying it right here. And like you said, Phoenix could come out hot. I'd lean a little bit right away. I thought under as well. But I'd look I think this could creep over, especially if the Suns get hot shooting. You never know. And Morant's back, so Memphis should be scoring a little bit more than they had been when he was out. They were really having a tough time scoring there. So my lean, just real quick, is Memphis with the points and no real feel with the total, and maybe lean over on this 218.5.
Yeah, they've definitely had better shooting games. You look at these last 3 games, for the Grizzlies. They shot above 50% in 2 of those games and shot close to it in their last game against the Sixers. And John Morant, being the straw that stirs the drink for them at the offensive end of the floor, has certainly had a big part in that. The next game up is Dallas and Toronto, Mavericks and Raptors. Toronto 5.0 favorites, 220 the total. Well, for the first time all season, Raptors were managed to put 2 straight wins together, albeit both of them against Charlotte. Let's see what they can do here. They're 3 wins overall on the year, or I should say they're 4 wins overall on the year, with the Knicks, the Kings, and 2 against Charlotte. That's about as weak a quartet of teams as you can beat in the NBA. Let's see if they're ready now for Luka Doncic, a now healthy Kristaps Porzingis, and the Dallas Mavericks in this game. This is going to be the true measuring stick of sorts. The Raptors are talking the talk. Nick Nurse, Van Vliet, Lowry, a lot of the leaders on this Raptors team talking the talk, saying, you know what, we've dug ourselves a little bit of a hole early in the season, unable to win close games, unable to put 48 consistent minutes of basketball together in a lot of these games, but we feel we're good enough to make a run and get back into this. That remains to be seen. I cashed a ticket against Dallas yesterday with Chicago, getting the points. Dallas has been nice now the last 2 games I've taken Maverick games. I took them plus the points against Milwaukee on Friday for a best bet on this show. Sunday I was on Chicago against them. They won outright, very shorthanded. A Dallas Mavericks team, though, yesterday going up against the Bulls, and they've still got a lot of their key cogs out. Josh Richardson, Tim Hardaway's a game-time decision. Dorian Finney-Smith is still out. Maxi Kleber is still out. Dwight Powell. A lot of key cogs for this Mavericks team that are not expected to suit up. The only one that might play tonight is Tim Hardaway for this Mavericks team. Now, they will have Luka, they will have Kristaps, and you would expect a much better step-up effort from Dallas after getting just really blitzed at home by the Chicago Bulls. I was kind of surprised Chicago won that easily and convincingly, even though Dallas was shorthanded. So I would look Dallas here. Even with them being a little bit shorthanded in this game, I haven't bet it yet because the numbers creeped up in this one. Raptors open 3.5 up to 5 now. But I'm getting more interested in Dallas plus these points. You just hope that maybe they'll get Hardaway back at least, be able to give them a little bit more of an offensive punch. But we're talking about a Raptors team that just continues to struggle to win by margin. Not just struggle to win by margin. Even the Charlotte game the other night, down to the wire. And down to the wire means that you got a good chance to cash a ticket here if you bet the Dallas Mavericks. So that's the way I'm leaning right now. C-Mac, what's your thoughts? Mavs and Raptors.
I'm right along with you here. I'm kind of waiting, I see if Hardaway's in and make it a little bit better. But even the Raptors should favor laying points right now, especially 5 in their so-called home in Tampa. There's just no way. I think the Bucks still going off, the lines makers still going off last year a little bit too much. They're not a really bad team. I don't think they're really good. I think they're going to be middle of the road, in the East, and they might be decent in the East, but so I'm going to grab the points here. Yeah, I didn't like the Mavs yesterday. With Porzingis coming back, I think it's going to take a little time. But this is where I like the Mavericks always. And they've been pretty good off of back-to-back. Doncic is young. These guys are young. He plays well. As long as they're in, which it sounds like they are, I'm just waiting on, it says Hardaway, a few others. I'm with you. I'm on the Mavs here. So give me the Mavs plus 5. There's no way I want to take Toronto in this spot. They just can't play 4 quarters. We talk about with our college games a lot, their first and second halves, how teams just can't play complete games, and Toronto's just not doing it. They're just not the same defensive team they were last year. So I got to give it up here, and I'll grab the points with the Mavs.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Raptors. There's been so many teams. They've gone up by double digits. They've had that run. They look like, wow, we're going to put this team away. And next thing you know, 8-2 run the other way, and the opponent is let right back into the game by the Raptors. I've seen this time and time again with this Raptors team this season. You look at the minutes, by the way, always important because, Dallas did play yesterday back-to-back, and now they're traveling to Tampa for this game against the Raptors. But you look at the minutes and the floor time for these guys yesterday. Doncic, 37 minutes was the most, which you would expect. But again, they were able to rest him late. 30 for Wesley Iwundu, 33 for Porzingis, 27 for Willie Cauley-Stein, 32 minutes for Jeff Green, 28 minutes for Trey Burke, 20 minutes for James Johnson. So there's definitely not a lot of players were taxed and had to, play 40 plus minutes. That's when you're concerned about a back-to-back like this. When you got multiple key players that end up on the court for 40 plus minutes. And, we didn't see that yesterday with the Mavericks, even in the loss against Chicago. It allowed Rick Carlisle to get some of those guys off the floor in a game that down the stretch you could clearly tell they weren't going to win that basketball game. So I think that's why, even though this is the second of back-to-back for Dallas, this is not the worst possible situation to be back-to-back, considering they're off the blowout. And again, not the most minutes you would think for some of these Mavericks key starters yesterday. We've got Skee Profit with us. He was having some tech issues, but he's along now, ready to join us on this Monday. Skee, welcome in. Glad you're with us. What do you think of these first two games we've talked about? We talked about Phoenix, Memphis, and we just finished up Dallas, Toronto. What's your take?
On the Phoenix and Memphis game, I think I would agree mostly with the take that early on, I think you have value on the under, but as the number ticks down, starts to look more and more at it being an over. And kind of like Conor mentioned too, Moran is back. The more healthy he gets, and they'll play a little faster. They'll score a little bit more points. So I would lean towards an over in that game. And if you know what I'm thinking in the Toronto game. Toronto can't be laying points versus anybody right now. Like, you can't expect them to win by margin versus anybody. You mentioned the teams that they've beaten, and I'm not impressed by any one of them. And they didn't even win by more than 3 points versus Charlotte twice. So it's Dallas or nothing for me in that game.
Yeah, liking Dallas plus the points. Again, you got a team that lost to Chicago. Again, it's been a nice read for me with the Mavericks the last couple games. On them versus Milwaukee, faded them yesterday with Chicago. And now today, I'm looking to get back on that Mavericks wagon here against the Raptors. And again, the Raptors just find a way to let teams right back in games, just like they did with Charlotte. Even though they escaped with the straight-up win, they're not playing the kind of basketball that makes you fond of laying moderate points like this with them. So we'll see if their struggles as chalk continue in this game tonight. Next up is the second of the three games tonight on TNT. Milwaukee taking on Brooklyn. The Bucks 3.5-point road favorites here, and the total's been bet up now into the 240s now, 240.5, even some 241 starting to show up here in terms of this total between the Nets and the Bucks. Kyrie Irving out. What else is new? Sick of talking about it. Sick of thinking about it. Game to game, day to day with this guy. It is what it is. He's still out for the Nets. So obviously more is going to fall on the shoulders of James Harden, Kevin Durant. At least they're going to get some chemistry in there before Kyrie comes back and throws things off again. The question is, are they ready for this Milwaukee Bucks team? That's the question here in this one. The Bucks certainly have. I was a little bit worried about going into the Dallas game, and they did win against Dallas, although did not cover in that game. Worried about the fact they had beaten up a lot of weak teams, a very easy, light cupcake schedule that the Bucks have been able to waltz through so far early this season, and they've been able to get the job done against a lot of those teams. But we'll be tested here, obviously, now on the road against this Brooklyn Nets team. The question is, where's the chemistry at for Brooklyn? They're still working through things. This is not a finished, polished team. It's not going to be a finished, polished product for a while after all these moves they've made and with Kyrie still out. So it's really a tricky game for me from all around. I can understand why the initial move to Milwaukee, because obviously a lot more cohesion. They've done nothing wrong. They've had a nice win, like I said, against Dallas. The question is, do you want to now lay 3.5, 4 with Milwaukee in this game against Brooklyn with the number being pushed up? There's going to be some point, guys, where I've just got to say, you know what, too much. At some point, this total's gotten too big. I'm getting close to that point here in this game. I mean, we're talking 241, and this is I don't want to say a showdown game, but it's kind of a, early season, East versus West. We think we're a title contender on both sides, and you show it by showing intensity, and it shows up at the defensive end of the floor. So I think at some point I might take a look under the total here if this keeps on going up. Where we're talking 241, you need a clean ride if you're going to get a game over that kind of total. So I'm leaning under. I leaned Milwaukee initially, but I don't know about 4 now. with them on the road here. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Nets versus Bucks.
Yeah, I want to think that it's going to be an under game too. The number I have is much lower, closer to 231. I'm looking at the Bucks pace the last 5 games. It's not the same up tempo Bucks that you're used to. The pace is 21st in the league, and Brooklyn's about middle of the pack as far as pace over the last 5 games. So neither team has been playing extremely fast. I know Brooklyn now has James Harden. The one thing the thing that bothers me, and why it's probably just keeps ticking up, is who's really going to protect the rim for Brooklyn. You can't really trust DeAndre for too long, and if he's not in the game, they don't really have anybody. And Milwaukee would likely score in the paint a lot, so it's tough. Gun to my head, I will pick the under just because that's what my numbers say to do. And Milwaukee, I can't take them in these big games or games versus good teams. I just don't want to expect them to win by margin. They're 2-4 as a road favorite. Brooklyn, they're 4-0 against the spread versus competition, 55% when teams are greater. So I'll be playing Brooklyn or the under.
All right, leaning to Brooklyn and under. And yeah, now you're seeing the perils in a matchup like this against Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, of trading away Jared Allen. I'm not saying Jared Allen was going to be a great matchup against Giannis. Not many people are, but it's another body and another guy with size you could at least thrown at him. And now you're, as Skee alluded to, you're down to DeAndre Jordan and not a whole lot else in terms of that center position and that front court to handle Giannis tonight. So interesting to see where Brooklyn turns to if, God forbid, DeAndre gets in a little bit of foul trouble here tonight against this Milwaukee team. Conor, what's your thoughts here? Milwaukee versus Brooklyn.
Yeah, real quick. If he does get in foul trouble, they'll easily get to the rim. As you guys were talking about the pace, the Bucks have been a bit slower. Everything. They've 4 straight unders. I think this one's close. I think this one gets close to the total. That's why I'm not gonna play it. I take the under. I mean, it just creeps up, but I could see getting late. Points could be scored in this one just going over. And now that it keeps going up, right away initially, if this 1.5, 2, when I saw it, I thought maybe the Bucks, but I haven't been big on the Bucks all year, and I know that the Nets need time to gel, and that Harden, I don't know how long it'll take. I mean, obviously they played together a long time ago, but and I think they'll be a better team without Kyrie. Surprisingly, I can't wait till he gets back. Then all those guys need to touch the ball. That should be interesting. But I'll lean with the points here. I like it 3.5. It might go to 4. I doubt it, but I got a strong lean with the Nets plus 3.5. There's not many spots where you're going to get 3.5 with them at home. Not that they're great right now, and they're still figuring things out, but I'd rather take those points than lay it with the Bucks.
Yeah, it was a completely disjointed first half for Brooklyn against Orlando over the weekend. Like, they didn't have a good first half at all, and you could tell James Harden's just trying to get his feet under him, get used to his new teammates. But boy, he had a really good second half, and the Brooklyn team had a much better second half. Durant had a big game. Harden, not bad for a debut with the Nets, though, a triple-double. We'll give him credit for that. He had a triple-double on Saturday.
He wanted to play.
12 rebounds, yeah. But he got it going after a slow start, and the way they finished was impressive. I will give Brooklyn that. Maybe it's a catapult to tonight, where obviously it's a big step up in competition going from Orlando to Milwaukee. But it's a fun game to watch tonight, just to see how much progress has Brooklyn made, and just after playing one game together, Durant and Harden, as they prepare to face this Bucks team. We'll find out tonight. Next up on the slate is Houston and Chicago. We've got the Bulls and were around pick'em -1 when the line opened. And now we're seeing Houston 2.5 point road favorites, 226 the total. It's a classic, miserable spot for Chicago. Just, handicapping 101 where you're coming back off a very long, and this was a very long road trip for the Chicago Bulls that wrapped up yesterday in Dallas and wrapped up in very, very good fashion for the Bulls. And in spite of their 5-8 straight up record, like I've said all along, the offense has really been good. They've gotten unbelievable performances from Wendell Carter. They've gotten Lauri Markkanen stepping up in the front court. And, of course, Levine and Kobe White. They've been outstanding, tremendous for the Chicago Bulls. They have a big 117-101 win over Dallas yesterday, the end of that 6-game road trip that started on January 5th. So they've been on the road for about 2 weeks straight. At Portland, at Sacramento, at the Lakers, at the Clippers, at Oklahoma City, a game that went to overtime. Remember, they blew that big lead, and Oklahoma City came back in that one. And then at Dallas, the 16-point win on Sundays. And now you're playing a back-to-back. This is where you really could see this Bulls team maybe stuck in mud tonight playing this Rockets team. As much as I've backed them, this ain't the spot. No way. And in fact, I'm looking at Houston in this one to get the road win. A disappointing fourth quarter in particular for Houston over the weekend in the second game against the Spurs, second of the back-to-back. They lost 103-91. But never, so disappointing, but it still doesn't really shake my overall thought that this team is going to be a team I'll be looking to bet on in the immediate future, 1-1 so far doing that with the Rockets. Obviously, they've still got some key guys out with Daniel House, John Wall not going to play tonight. Victor Oladipo, though, is with the team now and is expected to play and make his Rocket debut tonight for Houston. So that'll be good news. Obviously, he's been banged up a little bit early in the season, but looking like he's ready to make his first appearance for this Houston Rockets team. Christian Wood look like he is going to be available as well. We know he had some injuries a little while ago as well. So Houston will have some key cogs on the floor, even though they won't have John Wall. And I think that might be enough to take advantage of I think it's going to be a very lethargic, jet lagged, whatever phrase you want to call it. This is a brutal spot for Chicago. And I have serious reservations they'll be able to overcome it tonight. So I like Houston here to get the win. If you want to lay the money line, I wouldn't talk you out of that. I might prefer money line actually than the -2.5, but I do think Houston's in a favorable situation here. Can get the job done. Conor, we'll start with you this time around. Houston, Chicago.
Yeah, you might want to do money line, and I don't do that too much. That's the only thing that scares me off a little bit. They got to win by 3 here. Houston, I think they do, but every time, I'm like, this is a letdown for Chicago. They've just been playing well. I think it catches up with them pretty soon here, but Levine's been balling. This team, they can score points. One thing they do, they can score. I'd lean towards the over a little bit. Total's getting up there, 226. I mean, it's dropped originally, but tired legs. I think Houston still is playing, with Harden gone, they're happy. So I think I just don't love it. It's just more of a lean with me, with them -2.5 here. I haven't got to the window with it, but I'd lean the Rockets here. I just wish it was a pick 'em or something like that. I just don't like laying points in this spot right here.
Yeah, this is a conflict game from a total standpoint for me because I'm scared to bet Chicago unders very often with just how explosive they are and go into lapses defensively. But Houston is really, I think they've slowed down just a tad under Silas this year, pace-wise. They're playing, a little bit modicum of better defense compared to years past, and it's translated in their totals. They've gone 4 straight to the under going into tonight. So I'm going back and forth on the total, which is ultimately probably why I'm not going to bet the total in this Rockets game. Skee, what do you think here? Houston, Chicago.
Houston, I have both of them playing at a pretty fast pace the last 5 games, 5th and 6th in the league. And I don't really think Chicago's going to play very much defense. You mentioned it, it's a flat spot, kind of. They were supposed to go back home, but the game was postponed. So, I don't know. I feel kind of weird about that, but they have been on the road for a long time. And we mentioned we're trying to play the Houston Rockets for the near future. I think we have enough guys in the lineup tonight. Eric Gordon's in. Cousins is in. I like the Rockets tonight. I think they win this one. And even though the line has crept up, I still like them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been waving the Chicago flag for weeks now, betting this team. But I've been betting them on this road trip, underdog spots, getting a lot of points in favorable situations. And this ain't it, I think, for Chicago tonight in terms of a favorable situation. So a pretty tough spot here. A long road trip and no day off after playing Dallas yesterday. You're right back at it tonight with that first home game. I think it's tricky for Chicago tonight. Last game on the board, Golden State, LA Lakers. Warriors and Lakers, still a rivalry, and still, we'll get a lot of attention and eyeballs on TNT tonight, even though Golden State's not quite what they once were. The Lakers 8.5, 9-point home favorites here, 226.5 the total in this one. Right now, it's bet against the Lakers at your own risk. It's been quite the role for the defending NBA champions as of late. Just ripped through that road trip, just destroyed Houston, beat up Oklahoma City, got off to a really slow start against New Orleans in that first home game that we talked about, that game on the Friday show. And then the Pelicans, the roof caved in on them. Second half, it was all Lakers. They ended up winning going away against the Pelicans on Friday night. But this team definitely, and that it's kind of shows why they're having success and having these good second halves, because we've talked about their depth before on this show. Great depth on this Lakers team, and it's shone through in a lot of these instances. And it did once again on Friday night against the Pelicans. However, you got to be a little bit leery here going into this game against Golden State, because you've got a lot of question marks in terms of who's exactly going to be available. LeBron's got an ankle injury. He's questionable. Anthony Davis dealing with a wonky back, although the latest indication is that he's going to be playing tonight for the Lakers against Golden State. You've got concerns as well about Contavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP as well, but he's likely to play with the ankle that he's dealing with. Wesley Matthews as well, banged up but expected to play. LeBron's the big question mark for tonight against the Warriors. Looks like Davis, KCP, among others, likely to suit up tonight for Frank Vogel and the Lakers. Warriors, on the other hand, it's obviously a team that's played better defensively, I think, since they got Draymond Green back earlier this season. You can tell that they've improved a little bit at that end of the basketball court. They're coming off back-to-back losses against Indiana and Denver. The Indiana loss was frustrating for them because they led a large part of that game and just did not finish the game strong at all. I mean, Indiana got stop after stop, and Golden State couldn't make a basket at the other end, and they end up losing to the Pacers in that one, and then they fall short at Denver. But losing to the Pacers and the Nuggets, no shame in that. Prior to that, they had won 4 or 5. It's really, really difficult because, I've kind of been burned a couple of times I've played against LA. I mean, a horrible bet. The worst bet I've made all year in the NBA was taking Houston. The second time they played the Lakers, right before Harden got traded, it was non-competitive. And then I took the Pelicans Friday night and paid the price for it again. So, it's the once bitten, twice shy theory right here in this one. Do I dare go against the Lakers one more time? I'm not sure I do. My lean is Warriors. My lean is under the total as well. But right now, just leans. I'm not so sure. But I would lean a little to Golden State. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but that's the way I would go still in this game. Maybe Warriors plus the point. Skee, what do you think about your Lakers, who just find ways to keep on keeping on here as they take on Golden State?
Well, for one, the Warriors are not really Lakers rivals. We don't care about them. And second, I think until LeBron James sits a game, until Anthony Davis sits a game, we expect them to play every game, because every single day they're going to continue to be questionable. So I expect them both to play. And I like Golden State. You see the shirt I'm wearing today. I don't want to back the Lakers as a home favorite of asking them to win by double digits. I want to know when they're motivated. And so far, it seems like they've been motivated on the road. And if I can get them with that discount from being on the road, that's the spots I'd rather back them. And it's a spot where rested home teams that won their last game as a favorite but had to come back from down double digits. I use this a lot. I used it a couple times today, but that's the Lakers today. They're 14-30 against the spread, and that's a fade for me. Give me Golden State plus the 9. Golden State's defense has been improved, and that's the reason that they're winning some of these games. And for that reason, I do think both of them play a little bit more fast and slow. But I trust both defenses. I mean, they both have had rest, so I think both defenses come to play. And I like the under as well.
All right, like an under and the Warriors. And I've seen this kind of happen before in the NBA, where I bet against a team off a long road trip. In the first home game, they actually exceed my expectations. They play well, they win, they cover. And then I don't go back to fading that team in their second home game after the road trip. And that's the game where all of a sudden it looks like they hit a wall a little bit physically, mentally, where it didn't maybe happen quite as much in that first game, like the New Orleans game, for example, for the Lakers on Friday night. Maybe this is that spot, because I've been burned before doing that. Just fading the team in the first game, they end up getting it done. I don't go back to betting against them the next time, and that's when it shows up, the wear and tear, the fatigue, a little bit lethargic. Maybe this is that spot for the Lakers tonight, but we'll have to wait and see. Conor, what's your thoughts here with Golden State and the LA Lakers?
Yeah, I'm with you. I know I got bit. I was on the Pelicans the other night. I'm going to go back. I like the Warriors here as well. You know, I watch every Laker game, and they're just playing great basketball. The Pelicans kind of folded. They couldn't hit a shot. And then just with bad teams like they are that are young, just rolls downhill. They just, you know, in a team like the Lakers, they just took care of them late. The Lakers just, it doesn't matter, I think, who's in either. Skee saying if one sits, both play, don't play. I think this is a good spot. It was last year was a ton. The Lakers in this spot and laying this number, there was tons of games that they didn't cover, that they might have been up just like 14, because I have a few of them. I remember them really vividly last year where they, you know, it was like 10 and they lost, you know, it was 9. They lost by 9. So I'm going to take the points here. I think it's just too many. The Lakers are just playing really, really well. And I don't blame people for going back to the well. And if you want to lay it with them, but like Skee said, I think they're more motivated on the road. And they know they're really well. Their bench is deeper, and they can score a little bit more. That from what I'm noticing this year, with Schroeder and Matthews and Harrell, even though he's not good defensively, he can score. But in this spot, give me Curry. It's sometimes the Warriors right now have been up and down. They can score, and they can get in stretches where miss shots and it can get ugly. But I'll take all those points, almost 10. I'm going to go with the Warriors as well, +9.
All right, there you go, liking the Warriors +9. Before
I
we
lean
get
under
to
too. No bet, but I lean under. Yeah.
Lean under. Yeah. I'm going to wait on the total to go up a little bit more. And maybe I'll get in on the under if it creeps up, because I see 227.5 now. If it hits 228 or more, even I might be interested and have a bet on the under at that point. That's for that. Now that's the Monday card. We'll get best bets in a second, but briefly again, because we're not on the air with an NBA show tomorrow, there are 2 Tuesday games in the NBA tomorrow night. Oklahoma City at Denver, and Denver's a 9.5-point home favorite, 219.5 the total, and New Orleans at Utah. The Jazz 6.5-point home favorites, 217.5 the total. Again, nothing affirmative yet, no official bets yet, but I'm definitely leaning in the direction of both underdogs tomorrow night in those 2 games in the NBA. You look at OKC back on the road, catching 9.5, 10. They've been good in that kind of role this year, 5-1 straight up in ATS on the road this year for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Now playing a Denver team that, they lost to the Jazz. Certainly looking to bounce back, but the Nuggets right now are not a team that I'm playing really consistently enough either end of the floor where I'm fully trustworthy of them in a 9.5, 10-point price range like this is chalk. So I'm kind of leaning Thunder in that game, and I'm kind of leaning Pelicans as well against the Jazz, although I'm worried because this is definitely a dubious spot for Utah, no question. They're coming off a long lots of travel from January 1st until tomorrow night, which is January 19th for Utah. They will have traveled after every game they've played. They had a home game against the Clippers on New Year's Day, and then they went to San Antonio, to Brooklyn, to New York, to Milwaukee, to Detroit, to Cleveland, back home against Atlanta, and then back on the road last night against Denver. And now they're back home again for this game. That kind of travel over a 2.5-week span adds up big time. And they're laying a hefty, not a hefty number, but a moderate number here against the Pelicans. The problem is the Pelicans, guys, when they've stepped up in class on the road, at Miami, lose by 13. At Phoenix, lose by 25. At the Lakers, lose by 17. I mean, they've just had some ugly results. So I'm going to have to do some soul searching and some serious thinking before deciding to pull the trigger with New Orleans, because they've struggled against class competition on the road. And the way the Jazz are playing right now, they're on a roll. And sometimes when the Jazz get on a roll, you don't really want to jump in front of them. So it's really a back and forth type of game for me as of right now, but I'm trying to lean a little bit to the Pelicans, and I definitely lean Thunder against Denver in the other game as well. What do you guys think? Early thoughts on the two games on Tuesday? We'll start with you, Skee.
I would tend to agree. I mean, I like OKC on the road more in general. OKC's been playing well lately. I think they can hang within double digits. So that's the way that I would look at in that one. And, the Jazz, they've been playing really good. It's tough for me to look at the Pelicans. Pelicans can't seem to play a complete game. So if you like the Pelicans, maybe you want to look for like a half or a quarter or something. So
first half, first quarter.
Yeah, something like that. Other than that, if I had to play the full game, I would play the Jazz for that reason. And those are the two ways I'm looking.
Yeah, sometimes when the Jazz get in one of these roles, like they've been one of the streakiest teams I've ever seen in a 1 to 2 year span in the NBA the last couple of years. When they get on a roll straight up in ATS, they could go on a roll for weeks. And similarly, when they start losing, that roll could go on for weeks as well. But they're in the good side of it right now. 5 straight wins, 5 straight covers. I was on Utah last night against Denver. I mean, you had to. I mean, playoff revenge. They were openly quoting that playoff loss last year to Denver and blowing the 3-1 series lead in that one. And you just knew it was a circled spot for Utah. They would give it their best last night against Denver. And it wasn't always pretty. Denver made some runs against them and kept trying to get back in it every time Utah pulled away. But you saw Utah down the stretch. They made all the key plays, got stops. Donovan Mitchell with some incredible basketball in the last couple of minutes, a crazy turnaround shot that he made that really put it in a good place for Utah that game with about a minute to go. He was outstanding down the stretch for the Jazz. So that's also the part of the concern here for Utah with this game is coming off that huge win. Can you follow it up? Because that's not an average regular season game or an average regular season win for Utah last night against Denver. That one meant something to them. You could tell. Connor, what's your initial thoughts on Tuesday's card?
I'm with you guys. OKC catching about 10 on the road. Give me them. And like Skee said, I got to go. And you were talking about how the Jazz are streaking. I know it's their first game back at home, but as long as it's under 7, like you see, I see a 6.5 right here. I'd go with the Jazz. But like you guys said, maybe first quarter, first half, look Pelicans way. And Ian, you nailed it. These Jazz, so man, they have gone on streaks, not only straight up against the spread for 2 weeks, and then they've gone on the other way where they can lose, 8 or 10 in a row and against the spread. So very strange team and intriguing, the Jazz. But yeah, I'll take the points with OKC. I'm leaning with the Jazz as long as it stays under that number. Let me hit the ads real quick. Anybody need a book? Go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports, get 50% off debit or credit, and you get 100% off Bitcoin. So you put 1,000, they give you 1,000. Just go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports, and you get bulked up. Go to bulksupplements.com, hit promo code PubSports, 5 to 10% off your order. And last one, you need something to snack on, go to builtbars.com, hit promo code PubSports. You get 20% off your order. They got good shit, coconut, double, chocolate, mint brownie. They're really good. Go get them. 20% off your order. Go to Amazon, or not there, go to their site, builtbars.com. Don't go to Amazon. Go to builtbars.com, hit promo code PubSports, and order those things. They're delicious.
There you go. They're delicious. It's making me hungry, actually, because I ate like 3 hours ago, and I'm getting hungry again. So all that talk about, delicious stuff, making me hungry again. But yeah, so that's the Tuesday games right there. We'll quickly give you an update. We're going to have some serious point spread drama here in the last couple minutes of this Minnesota-Atlanta game, if anyone bet that, because it's going to come right down to close, right around the number, which was -7 Atlanta. They're up by 6, 194 with like a minute and a half left. So this one's going to come down to should stay under the total with ease. Plenty of room to spare there. Atlanta total is just remaining way too high right now. Knicks beat the Magic 91-84. I'm mad because, I forgot the game was this early, and I liked the under and didn't bet it. And the game just completely sailed under the total with the Magic and the Knicks in that one. San Antonio, Portland, 85-82. San Antonio with 19 seconds left in that one. I posted on my Twitter NBA card. We've got the Spurs Blazers over on that card, and we've got a chance at least in that game. We've got work to do, but it's got a chance still with San Antonio, Portland, maybe to get that over the total. It's 85-82 late third quarter in that one. Detroit, Miami, by the way, got postponed, so that's why we didn't talk about that game on the slate today. All right, it's time for best bets to wrap up the show. Skee, let's start with you. What do you got for a Monday Martin Luther King Day best bet? I can see the deliberation in his head right now. There we go.
My bad. I was muted. And this one, I'm gonna go with. I like a few, so let me just make sure I'm not picking this last one right here. And I'm gonna go with Houston. Yeah, I am gonna pick that last one. I like Houston today. I think, like I said, I think they're bet on. I know I'll get the effort from everybody over there. I think the number is short. I think they're the more talented team, and just not a great spot for Chicago. Chicago's been doing a lot of traveling, and I'll take Houston to get this game.
All right, Houston laying the 2.5 against Chicago. That is going to be Skee Profit's best bet. Conor, what do you got for us? NBA best bet.
I like both of these. I'll go with the home one instead of the road one instead of the Mavs. I'll go with Memphis. Give me plus 5.5 at home. Even if they don't win, I think it's close. So give me the Grizz plus 5.5.
All right, Memphis plus 5.5 against Phoenix for a best bet for Conor Mack. And I'm going to, again, road underdog roll for the Dallas Mavericks, which came in good for me on this show with the best bet on Friday. In fact, the last time we had a show was Friday for NBA, and Dallas was my best bet that day. It'll be my best bet again tonight, going against the 1 hour away from me hometown team here, the Toronto Raptors. So Dallas plus 5 against Toronto. That's going to be my best bet for this Monday NBA card. That'll wrap up the show, guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. It's fun to do these NBA shows 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, right here on Pub Sports Radio. For Skee Profit, Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday. Enjoy the rest of Martin Luther King Day. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you Wednesday for our next edition of the NBA Closing Time Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.